This is RTV6 News at 6, working for you.
With insulin, it's life and death. I mean, if you don't take the insulin, you're dead.
A father lost his child because his son couldn't afford insulin. Working for you, what's being done to make insulin more affordable?
A big spike in reported flu cases. We find out why this year's flu shot may not completely protect you from the virus, but why you may want to get vaccinated anyway.
Obviously, our transition to winter temperatures is complete. Next, we'll focus on the potential for light accumulating snow.
The Muncie Police Department has a new top cop. On Call 6 Investigates, Kara Kenny will tell you what the new police chief plans to change first.
And good evening to you. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starantino. First at 6, for some people with diabetes, the cost of insulin is so high they cannot afford it, and it's costing them their life.
Yeah, tonight the story of one man who died because he couldn't pay for the life-saving drug.
RTV6's Stephanie Wade is working for you to find out what is being done to protect Hoosiers with diabetes.
No more than 2 inches tall, this vial can mean the difference between life and death for people with diabetes. And for Harry Rybolt's son, not being able to afford this was.
You can't believe it. It's like, no, God, no.
At 39 years old, Jeremy Crawford died this past August. Doctors say from pneumonia combined with diabetes.
Shouldn't have to bury your kids. Not for a reason like this. Sometimes accidents happen. This is not an accident.
His father says he lost his health insurance and switched from using a higher grade prescription insulin to a much cheaper formulation he could buy over the counter.
It's like, do I pull the trigger? That's what it is.
The cost of the 4 most popular types of insulin has tripled over the past decade. The average price for someone paying out of pocket is now $450 a month. People driving to Canada to get insulin for just $32 there instead.
I would look him straight in the eye and hold a picture of my son and tell me that this is acceptable, that he died because he couldn't afford it.
The medicine's so expensive, studies show 1 in 4 people with diabetes are skimping on or skipping life-saving doses.
If I had to skip like my son did, my endocrinologist said I'd last 3 to 5 days.
But there's a lot of tug and war at the federal level, so I think it's our responsibility at the state level then to do whatever we can do.
State Representative Robin Shackelford plans to propose legislation next week that would cap the cost of insulin to $100 for a 30-day supply.
The manufacturer may set the price for a drug or say for insulin, and by the time it gets to the consumer, so many more prices and have been added on that the consumer is paying a higher price.
My insulin costs like $7 to make, and they want to charge $300, $500.
She says prices can be reduced at the manufacturer level, by the middleman or pharmacy benefit managers, and even by insurers. Her bills would regulate that.
Going to do anything and everything I can to try and change the system because it's all screwed up.
Working for you, Stephanie Wade, RTV6.
Well, with one of the largest manufacturers of insulin in our own backyard, Eli Lilly earlier this year unveiled a lower-cost generic version of its insulin drug, Humalog, for $137 for a single vial. The CEO said this can serve as, quote, a bridge that addresses gaps in the system until a more sustainable model is achieved. If you have a health concern and you're running into dead ends, let us know. Contact us at workingforyou@rtv6.com.
One person is dead after a suspect ran into their vehicle following a police chase on the northeast side. IMPD says officers tried to stop a driver wanted on a felony weapons-related warrant, but the driver did not pull over. Investigators say police lost sight of the car and ended the chase. However, Metro Police say the suspect behind the wheel of the car eventually ran through a stoplight at Pendleton Pike and Oak Landon Road, hitting another car. According to officers, the driver of the vehicle that had nothing to do with the original situation died. A passenger in that same vehicle went to the hospital but is expected to survive. Police took the suspect into custody. That suspect has not been identified.
Now time for your Storm Team 6 forecast, and we've had downtown snow video from earlier this afternoon, and we've had some really warm temperatures out there, so this is what we were not really expecting, but we have a change that is coming. Are we going to see any more of this, Kevin?
We've got a few snow showers around now. Tomorrow, I think a little more substantial and widespread, but this 24-hour period is our coldest. Then we'll start to warm up once again. We technically made it into the 50s today, by the way. That was just after midnight. While you were sleeping, it was beautiful. And now, much colder and cloudy. As you can see, all this activity, at least for this round, starting to slide off to the east. Low pressure in the Great Lakes. It's strong, deep low pressure. Think of it as a hole in the atmosphere. The deeper the hole, the faster the air rushes in to fill it, and the wind becomes the issue, along with the cold temperatures. Terre Haute had nearly a 50-mile-per-hour gust. Indianapolis, 45 miles per hour. Temperatures across the state all at freezing or a little below to the north, and down to 40, as you can see in Evansville. The wind stays strong tonight. Our temperatures will change very little over the next 24 hours, but they climb again by the end of the week. We'll talk about what comes with that warmth in a minute.
It's more severe this year than it's been in years past, but not quite the worst we've seen.
Doctors tell RTV6 there's been a big spike in reported flu cases. As the number climbs, daycares and hospitals are taking precautions to keep the flu from spreading. We look into why getting the shot might not keep you from getting the flu, but it could minimize your suffering.
We know that it's not 100% protective, meaning that people who get the flu shot can still get the flu. But we do know that people that get the flu shot are much less likely to end up with severe illness.
Each year, the flu makes its rounds, and doctors do their best to formulate a shot that consists of the right strains of flu for the upcoming season.
We use strains and we use information from the Southern Hemisphere, Australia and other countries in the Southern Hemisphere, and look to see what flu strains are circulating in that area.
Sometimes the prediction is dead on. Other times, not quite.
It's not, again, 100% guaranteed that the same strains from the Southern Hemisphere will be circulating in the Northern Hemisphere, but it's usually a pretty good indicator.
Even though it's impossible to be sure what each season will bring, hospitals don't take the spread of influenza lightly. At Riley Hospital for Children, they have established a checkpoint to protect patients.
Last year was considered a fairly severe flu year, and again this year it's tracking pretty similarly.
With January, peak flu season is just around the corner, and with 7 influenza-associated deaths in the state of Indiana already, daycares are ramping up their awareness of the sickness too.
At the end of the day, when we're cleaning up, the teachers are cleaning and sanitizing toys and tables and surfaces, wiping down doorknobs, so that we can make sure that we're killing anything that might be in the air.
It's no secret the flu tends to be harsher on babies, elderly people, and those with compromised immune systems. Karen Crow is a center director at Day Early Learning. She says after 18 years of caring for children, she knows flu season is a serious matter.
Generally, there's a lot of coughing, sneezing. You know, we're wiping our hands across our faces. They're touching surfaces. They're touching each other. It spreads very quickly. If we're not on top of it, we can lose an entire classroom to the flu.
And she knows how quickly things can escalate.
We can end up with children who have pneumonia after they pick up the flu, and that can be very devastating.
That's why experts say it is not too late to get the shot to protect yourself and those around you.
The man convicted of stabbing another man to death inside a Southside Kroger now knows his punishment. Jason Cooper has been sentenced to 45 years in prison and 10 additional years on home detention. That's 55 years of total punishment. Police say Cooper stabbed Carlos Castro 3 times, then shot him twice after Castro refused to give him his cell phone. This all happened inside a Southside Kroger store in 2017.
The city of Muncie will soon have a new police chief and administration that aims to restore the public's trust in the police department. The incoming mayor named Nathan Sloan as the new top cop. Call 6 Investigates' Kara Kenny sat down with him today to find out how he plans to improve public safety while the feds investigate the agency.
Today is Chief Joe Winkle's last day with the Muncie Police Department. He's been the chief since 2016, and today we spoke with the man replacing him, Nathan Sloan. How are you feeling? This is a big job.
It's a little overwhelming right now. We do have a lot going on.
Nathan Sloan has been with Muncie Police for 18 years, much of it as a detective. Instead of solving cases, now he'll be solving some of the biggest issues facing the agency. Officer turnover, poor morale, and lack of resources for officers are among his top concerns. Sloan's arrival comes as federal authorities are investigating several Muncie police officers for alleged police brutality, and the department is also facing several excessive force lawsuits. Given all of that, how do you move forward?
Well, I think at this point we've really just got to review everything that's going on. We're just coming into things here. So we've got to get our head wrapped around exactly what's gone on and what's going on and see where that leaves us to tell really where we're going to move on from there.
Patrolman Melissa Pease will serve as deputy chief of the department. Pease and Sloan have worked together on cases as detectives. Both say they're overwhelmed but are excited for the challenge and say personnel changes will happen as part of the transition next year. Nathan Sloan's first day as the chief of police is January 1st. Reporting in Muncie, Kara Kenny, RTV6.
And right now, the city is budgeted for roughly 108 officers, but only 93 are working on the force. The incoming chief plans to get those positions filled immediately. The Beech Grove Police Department has a new leader. Mayor Dennis Buckley named the current deputy chief of police, Michael Maurice, as the new chief of the Beech Grove Police Department. Maurice had been the deputy chief for 8 years, and now he will lead the department. Earlier this month, we learned current Beech Grove Police Chief Mark Swartz is retiring at the start of the new year. A home is destroyed after neighbors heard a loud explosion and saw a fire.
Luckily, a family of 4 made it out okay, but that explosion sound prompted more than a dozen 911 calls. One of those calls tops the RTV6 news feed.
It seems like the house on fire. It's like all kinds of smoke. It was an explosion at first, but now it's up in flames.
Okay, do you know if anybody's inside or do you not know?
I don't know. I just heard the explosion.
The Indianapolis Fire Department rushed to a house on Danube Street around 10:30 last night on those calls of a fire and a loud explosion. When firefighters arrived, the home's second story was engulfed in flames. 2 adults and 2 children made it out safely. The exact cause of the fire is now under investigation, but firefighters believe the explosion heard may have been caused by a propane cylinder that was burned from the fire.
And take a good look at these 3 men. They are accused of robbing a Southeast Side restaurant at gunpoint, and police need your help to find them. IMPD says the men went into the Great Wall restaurant in the 3400 block of South Keystone Avenue on Friday, December 6th. Investigators tell us one of the men pulled out a handgun and demanded money. They left in a red vehicle. Call Crime Stoppers at 317-262-TIPS with any information.
Now still ahead, one of the most dangerous intersections in central Indiana should be safer tonight.
At least that's the hope. The major change to 96 and Keystone on the Carmel-Indy border and what it means for you.
Also ahead here, the group that's helping adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities overcome obstacles in the workforce. How you can also make a difference. Coming up.
And the last couple of days, obviously, we've been staring at the radar. Now we got to focus on radar and the temperature. With the colder air catching some moisture, we'll see some very light accumulating snow tomorrow. We'll talk about the timing and whether it impacts your New Year's Eve plans coming up.
But get them on sale at Bell Tire.
This is RTV6 News at 6, working for you.
96th and Keystone in Carmel has been described as one of central Indiana's most dangerous intersections. Officials hope it's much safer with the completion of a roundabout that's now open to traffic. Today, the city of Carmel held a ribbon cutting for the new roundabout at 96th and Keystone. Carmel has been trying to put a roundabout there since 2016, but now the $28.7 million project is done. And again, the hope is the intersection at 96th and Keystone is much safer.
For more than a year, Hiring Hoosiers has been connecting you to jobs and training, and one group is helping adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities overcome obstacles in the workforce. RTV6's Lauren Casey traveled to Zionsville to learn more about this initiative. It's a story that will warm your heart and may even inspire you to get involved.
Well, we're right now painting the curves, as you can see.
These workers may look like they're with the town of Zionsville.
Oh, it feels amazing. Yes, I've been making good friends.
But Alex Gillihan is part of a nonprofit corporation called Watch Us Farm. And while today they aren't on the farm, that is part of what they do to get work ready.
I've been planting fruits and vegetables. I've been going to the trails, Painting.
Busy summer.
Yeah.
We don't take money for this. My husband and I do this because this is what we want to do, and I want people to have jobs.
Janice Agarwal is the executive director, and this is her vision. After spending time living in Europe, she saw how community farms help to teach adults with intellectual disabilities skills for the workforce.
It gives quality of life. It gives a community something to support. There are lots of volunteers, and it changes their lives. It changes lives. So when you start seeing this all over the world, I wanted it here.
Watch's Farm provides basic jobs and training for adults with disabilities who are high functioning and can work, but they may need a little bit of help.
Sometimes they can be totally independent, but they may need you to come in and check on them. So we want to be that safety net for them.
Janice and her staff break down the tasks step by step.
And then we kind of figure out what they can and can't do and how they learn.
Take pictures and document the steps.
Someone asked me, could they do this job? I now know how I can break it down, and I can start learning how to place kids.
Right now, they're partnering with the town of Zionsville to do this work on the streets. The town gives them the supplies.
They work hard. They'll do the same thing every single day for 10 years, and they'll be fine with that. You know, they just don't do change that well.
Workers like Alex get paid for his hard work, and he gets some help from volunteers who become his friends. And his message for you as he picks up his paintbrush:
I would love to get more friends out here.
Working for you, Lauren Casey, RTV6.
So how can we make this job training successful for adults with disabilities? Janice tells us she needs people like you. Watch Us Farm always needs volunteers to work alongside their adult workers. To learn more about Watch Us Farm, we posted all of the information in this story on our website at hiringhoosiers.com. Kevin.
This is how much colder than 24 hours ago. Generally 20 to 25 degrees colder, exactly 23 in Peru and Muncie. Temperatures were at 50 or above for 8 straight days. We changed that just after midnight, 12:41 to be exact. We hit 53. That's our high that goes in the books today. This is what we've been with all afternoon, though. So as you went off to work and then arrived back home, temperatures have been in the 30s all day. Just want to show you, well to the north, this area of snow is pinwheeling around an area of low pressure. This will slide to the south and east, increase our chance for some very light snow from the morning hours tomorrow until early afternoon. I don't think it'll impact your Tuesday night plans or New Year's Eve plans. May see some very light accumulation. Had nothing more than a few flurries out there recently, kind of a vision test. Am I really seeing some snowflakes? And if you think you do, you will. They'll continue then, I think, to dissipate here in the early part of the evening hours. Notice the colder air has cut a big swath in through the central U.S. All the way down into El Paso, Texas. They're at 48. The warmth has been pushed down into Florida. Our temperatures over the next 24 hours, the coldest that they'll be, and then the arc toward warming up is pretty significant and sustained as we go from the 1st on Wednesday to Thursday and Friday. Temperatures still climb. What happens, though, as our temperatures get back into the 50s by Friday, our rain chances will increase as well. However warm it feels Friday, it will feel much colder. Saturday, cold enough that I think we see snow showers once again. 11 o'clock tonight, hit and miss snow showers. As we wake up at 7 a.m., the best chance for any very light snow ongoing will be north of Interstate 70. If you draw a line from Lafayette to about Indianapolis and Greensburg northeast, that's the best chance for some very light accumulation, and by very light, certainly an inch or less, what the computer models are kind of pumping out at this point. The bigger impact, maybe a little longer lasting impact along I-69 up toward Fort Wayne, and then I-70 if you're headed east toward Richmond into the Buckeye State. For us tomorrow, not quite as windy, but still windy. We'll have gusts to 30 miles per hour. That'll make temperatures that stay in the low 30s feel colder. This wind eventually coming out of the west. When we start to warm back up, it'll happen quickly. From tomorrow's temperatures in the low 30s, we'll make it above the 40-degree mark as we get to the 1st on Wednesday. 47 with rain returning Thursday. Still wet on Friday. 54 degrees and snow showers on Saturday.
Kevin, thanks, and good evening, everyone. The Colts season came to an abrupt end with Sunday's 38-20 loss to the Jaguars. What will you take away from watching 2019 unfold? Will it be the team's 5-2 start that had them first place in the division standings, or will it be the 2-7 finish with so many leads lost and opportunities squandered? We got a final chance to hear from some of the guys as they cleaned out their lockers. Here's a look in tonight's Sports Extra Spotlight.
It's definitely going up. I mean,
We got a good team, man. We good at all the positions. You know, we could add a few pieces here on offense, add a few pieces on defense, and we'll be fine.
Well, I'm a little disappointed in me and myself personally. I didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish for the work I put in, but that's life. Sometimes it don't go as planned. So back to the lab, figure out how to get better.
You build so many relationships, and you know, and that one thing about the NFL, the locker room is never the same, and you know, the friendships that we have, the trust that we build, and you know, it's definitely going to be hard to see a guy walk out this locker room. So you definitely got to, take your time to show them that you appreciate them and kind of go from there.
I mean, it's disappointing. I'm sure a lot of guys are disappointed. We came in with high expectations of ourselves based off of what we did last year. The type of game that we played and the season we played last year going into the playoffs. We thought we was going to come in and build off of that, and that wasn't the case this year.
We have great football character. We have very talented players. We're building a foundation of players that can have sustainable success, and that's what we're looking for, sustainable success.
When you break that team meeting, it's the end of this group being together, and that's the nature of the beast in the NFL. And so you try to give guys hugs and tell them thanks for being a great teammate, and you never know what the future holds.
Indeed, that is very true. The big questions that will need to be answered in the next 6 months, among them, will Jacoby Brissett be the quarterback next season? That remains to be seen. More than a dozen players are up for free agency. Anthony Costanzo, Eric Ebron among them. We'll see how many of those guys return. The Colts definitely need some depth at secondary and at wide receiver. And what about the kicker? Chase McLaughlin signed a one-year extension today, and Adam Vinatieri is now a free agent. So we shall see there as well. We do know the Colts hold the 13th pick for the first round of April's NFL draft. We'll talk some hoops for you coming up tonight at 11. Butler is up to number 10 in the coaches poll this week. They open Big East play tomorrow night. And we'll hear from the Pacers. They're home tomorrow on New Year's Eve. Catch up with the blue and gold ahead of a huge game against the Sixers. See you tonight. Back to wrap up the news at 6 next.
It's a little different, isn't it, to put on the full winter coat, and when you go walking, just put your face, look down at the ground and keep moving with this wind.
All the layers.
Temperatures just above freezing through 10 o'clock. Some light snow around tomorrow.
The change is here. All right. Up next is World News with David Muir.
All right, bundle up. We'll see you at 7.